Hey everybody, welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here with Ron Placone, and Steph Zamorano is here too, the miserable liberal. She's got a t-shirt on. Let me see that t-shirt.
You mean this one, Jimmy?
Oh, look at that. What is that a picture of on your t-shirt?
It's you with a megaphone.
Oh, screaming my head off.
Yep.
And those are available at spreadshirt.com right there. There's a link. It's a great way to help support the show. You can get cups, mugs, stuff. There's other stuff coming. We're probably even going to get a hat soon. So everybody's excited. We told you about how they smear Bernie Sanders. You saw it. That's why people watch this show. The Bernie Sanders campaign revealed to a lot of people, certainly progressives, how completely corrupted that the mainstream news media is, right? Because they knew who Bernie Sanders was, and then they would turn on CNN or MSNBC or read the Washington Post or the New York Times to read stories about Bernie or to watch something about Bernie, and they saw how he was being reported on, and they knew that they were lying or they were BSing, they were misrepresenting who he was, they were smearing him, they were allowing other people to come on and smear him and not pushing back, and they were just basically trying to tank his campaign. So people got a good view of how bad the mainstream news media is, which is why the Young Turks went through the roof because of the Bernie Sanders primary. And then this show also, that's why we're here, because a lot of people saw how corrupted the mainstream news media was through the Bernie Sanders campaign. Thus, they come here. Okay, so they're still doing it. They won't stop, right? So most recently, a New York Times reporter said that Jane Sanders took a tour of Judge Arpaio's. Worth noting that Jane Sanders went to Judge Arpaio's tent city prison and took a tour. Yes, she was there to confront him. Also, New York Times wrote an article saying that Bernie Sanders supporters were violent, and responsible for the violence that shot the Steve Scalise, the congressman. Remember that? Mm-hmm. They wrote that. Now here's Newsweek. Bernie Sanders voters helped Trump win, and here's the proof. This is by a guy named Jason Lemire.
Can I point out something real quick about the title?
Yeah.
Usually when you end an article with, and here's proof, it's because you're parroting a tired old bullshit falsity. Yeah. Hey, do you think Bigfoot's real? Here's
the
proof.
No, what helped Trump win was the Democrats running the most unpopular candidate in the history of the Democratic Party in a time when people were craving change and anti-establishment candidate, and you gave us the most establishment candidate with the most baggage in the history of candidates, and then you wag your finger at voters? That's not what politicians do. If you need a vote, you're supposed to go get one. If you don't get enough votes, it's the politicians' fault. But now the Democrats, because they lost to Trump, can't believe it's their fault, so they have to blame voters. And they're still doing it. And this is, again, more BS. But you're going to watch, by the end of this guy's article, Jason Lemire, by the end of his article, he's going to be arguing against his own premise. I'm not even kidding. That's how hard it is to argue this stupid premise. Ready? He starts off by saying Bernie Sanders supporters switched their allegiance to Donald Trump in large enough numbers last November to sway the election for the real estate billionaire, according to an analysis of voter data released Tuesday by the blog Political Wire. According to the analysis of the 2016 Cooperative Congressional Election Survey, fewer than 80% of those who voted for Sanders, an independent, in the Democratic primary did the same for Clinton when she faced off against Trump a few months later.
And this is Bernie Sanders' fault. That's his premise right now. This is Bernie's fault that happened.
Bernie Sanders' fault that not enough Bernie Sanders supporters voted for Hillary Clinton. I think the reason why they supported Sanders in the first place is because they found people like Hillary Clinton repulsive. They found that brand of politics completely unacceptable. Why don't they just vote for Hillary? She's not owed a progressive's vote, you Nimrod. Nobody's owed a vote. You have to go get the votes. The story here is what a failure of the Clinton campaign. They couldn't get the progressives to vote for her. Less than 80% of the Bernie supporters voted for Clinton. What a failure of the Clinton campaign. They moved right instead of left. They put a Republican as vice president instead of a progressive. Maybe that's why. Could that be the reason? Oh, maybe they didn't let Nina Turner talk at the convention. Maybe they drowned out the anti-war vote. They put sound cannons on, turn the lights on the progressive. Maybe that's why they didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. You ever think of that? No, just no reason. There's no reason. Just no reason. It's the voters' fault. You know, if your candidate doesn't win, you're supposed to support the corporatist warmonger. That's the rules. And you guys broke the rules. What's more, this guy says, Jason Lemire says, what's more, 12% of those who back Sanders actually cast a vote for Trump. That is about half. So in 2008, when Hillary Clinton ran against Barack Obama, and he's going to mention this later in the article, but I'm going to mention it now. When Hillary Clinton ran for president in 2008 against Barack Obama, the people who supported Hillary Clinton in the primary did not support Barack Obama in this. 25% of Hillary Clinton supporters in the primary did not vote for Barack Obama. 25%. Here, he's only got 12%. Which a lot of people would say, wow, a lot of Hillary Clinton was able to hang on to a lot more Bernie voters than Barack Obama was able to hang on to Hillary Clinton voters. So you could frame this any way you want. He wants to frame it as blame the voter, which is political malpractice. Anybody who blames voters is committing political malpractice. Although Sanders railed against the policies and rhetoric offered by Trump, the Republican at times sought to reach out to Sanders voters, emphasizing the similarities of the two candidates' positions on issues like trade.
So he's basically acknowledging Trump did what a politician's supposed to do.
Yes, Trump reached out to them.
And he's blaming Bernie Sanders for this. This is still Bernie Sanders' fault somehow. Trump did what a politician's supposed to do. Hillary Clinton, instead of combining that and saying how, look, this is not your clear glass here, I am, she didn't do that or didn't do it hard enough. And that's somehow still Bernie Sanders' fault. It's Bernie Sanders' fault that Trump did what a politician's supposed to do in this case.
I have to disagree. I mean, she came out with a strong platform. I'm with her.
Exactly right, Ron. You just made a great point.
I think I'm right too, Ron.
And
way.
We're both right.
You're both right. I don't have to repeat it. Of those who switched their allegiance from Sanders to Trump, less than 10% consider themselves strong Democrats, while less than 50% even lean Democrat. I don't understand what the point of that is. What is the point of that? Can you tell me? There must be a point to him saying that, right?
Well, of those who switched their allegiance from Sanders to Trump, less than 10% consider themselves strong Democrats, while less than 50% even lean Democrat. I'm not sure what his point of that is.
So here's what I'll tell you what that actually means. I'll tell you what it means. What that means is that Bernie Sanders attracted new people into the Democratic Party who previously were not in the Democratic Party. That's what that says.
That says Bernie Sanders appealed to more unlikely voters.
Oh,
right.
So I don't know why he's using that
So what
point.
he's saying, and he doesn't realize, so Jason Lemire, this is what I'm going to say, is not smart enough to realize he's actually undermining his own frickin' argument yet again. This is the first time he undermines it. And how is he doing it? He's by saying Bernie Sanders expanded the party, which is what everybody is always trying to do. You're always trying to expand the party. Because I don't know if you know, the Democratic voters only make up somewhere around 28% of the electorate. Did you know that? So you're going to have to get a lot more people to vote for your Democrat if you want to win a national election. Most people are registered independents. So that's what Bernie does. So what Bernie did was expand the party, and the people after Bernie was out of the race, 50% of it didn't even lean Democrat. So, and he gives you a chart. Who cares? During the campaign, Sanders was criticized by many in the Democratic establishment for taking his primary battle with Clinton all the way into the summer.
So let's sum that sentence up. During the campaign, Sanders was criticized for participating in a primary. That's his other point. Sanders was criticized for doing a primary and standing with his supporters.
So he was, yeah, right. So Bernie Sanders trying to get as many delegates as he could when he went to the convention so that he would have more influence over the platform. That's what he was doing. He was trying to make sure he had influence on the Democratic platform. That's why he can continue to run in the primary, which is why you have a primary, so you can debate ideas. And it's supposed to make you stronger. But if Bernie does it against Hillary, that's not good. But if Hillary did it against Barack Obama, that was fine. So people were asking her, why don't you drop out? It's going to be summer. You're hurting Barack Obama. Just as what people were saying to Bernie Sanders. And here's what Hillary Clinton, remember her response to that? Here's what Hillary Clinton responded with. This is what she responded with.
People have been trying to push me out of this ever since Iowa. And
Why?
I find that, I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. I find it curious because it is unprecedented in history. I don't understand it. And
It's unprecedented to try to push a candidate out of the primary in June. That's what she's saying. This is unprecedented. You shouldn't be. It's unprecedented to try to push a presidential candidate out of the primary before the summer. That's what she's saying.
you know, between my opponent and his camp and some in the media, there has been this urgency to end this. And
so when she was losing, there's no, I got to stay in. But when Bernie was losing, you got to get out. And if you don't, it's because you're a sexist.
you know, historically that makes no sense. So I find it a bit of a mystery.
You don't buy the party unity argument?
I don't, because again, I've been around long enough. You know, my husband did not wrap up the nomination in 1992 until he won the California primary somewhere in the middle of June, right? We all remember Bobby Kennedy was assassinated in June in California. You know, I don't understand it. And, you know, there's lots of speculation about why it is, but...
What's your speculation?
I don't know. I find it curious, and I don't want to attribute motives or strategies to people because I don't really know.
So there's her going, it doesn't make any sense that I would get out of it. Why would you get out of the primary? Why would I? Here's a guy 9 years later making that same dumb argument that Hillary Clinton's on videotape contradicting. It's wrong when it happens to it's wrong when it happens to Hillary, but it's okay when Hillary does it. And you see why people wouldn't vote for her? Do you see why people are repulsed by her and the people who support her? Do you see why that is? I hope you do. I do. Do you see how what a thin as piss on a rock this article is? Do you see how it already even contradicts itself? Hillary Clinton contradicted his article right here. This is her in her own voice contradicting it. I don't buy the party unity thing. She didn't buy it when it was her. But now we're all supposed to buy it because it's Bernie Sanders. Isn't that weird? Turns out the Vermont senator did, though, ultimately endorse Hillary Clinton and campaigned on her behalf. While much was made of the so-called Bernie or bust phenomenon, this is from that guy's article. The number of Sanders supporters who crossed party lines to vote for Trump in 2016 may not be that unusual. A 2010 study of Public Opinion Quarterly found that in 2008 election, 25% of those who voted for Clinton in the Democratic primary ended up voting for Republican John McCain. What? That's what I told you before. So this guy starts off with his whole premise. He's undermining right now.
Yeah, he just said, "Oh, by the way, this is nothing." This.
By the way, the whole point of this article, it's undermined by this paragraph right here. Hillary Clinton's voters, actually, only 12% of Bernie's voters voted for Trump. 25% of Hillary's voters voted for Sarah Palin.
Bigfoot was photoshopped. Gotcha. Now take this personality quiz.
So did you do this, Ron, or did they do this?
We did this. We fixed it.
So,
Arno and I fixed it.
So Arno and Ron did this. They fixed it. Bernie Sanders voters helped Trump win, and here's the proof. We fixed it. Bernie Sanders had more crossover appeal than Hillary Clinton, and here's the proof. That's what that article should have been entitled, Jason Lemire. Why would you write an article like that? You contradict your own self at the end. Well, but it turns out what I'm saying actually is kind of bullshit if you look at this stat. Anyway, thanks for paying me for the article. What the F? Newsweek. What a fucking rag that thing is. Newsweek? Jesus H. Christ.
Well, even the paragraphs like at the beginning where he's talking about like, oh, Trump tried to appeal to these Bernie people and stuff. He's not putting any, like, he's basically saying like our friend of the show, Rush G. Lewis, said Hillary Clinton was the only like candidate that wasn't expected to earn your vote.
She was as Rush G. Lewis said, the only campaign in history who was not expected to garner votes by campaigning. She doesn't have to get your vote. You owe your vote to her, and you better goddamn give it to her, even though her own supporters didn't vote for Barack Obama.
And you know what I say to people that do that? Like she's owed your vote. I look at them and I say, you know what? That is incredibly sexist.
Yes.
Because it is. That is like why everyone else, you expect them to go out and get votes. Why not? Shouldn't that should apply to every politician, no matter who they are.
And I say to those people, until you understand the game that's being played, you'll forever be congratulating yourself for voting for a corporatist warmonger who exploded the prison population while gutting welfare and repealing the New Deal banking regulations. You will forever be congratulating yourself for voting for that until you realize what the game is that's being played. And the game that was being played is called the Pied Piper theory. So we got somebody named Hillary Clinton who's so repulsive to the American electorate that we have to get someone who's super disgusting to run against her so she can win. That's the Pied Piper theory. And that was Hillary Clinton's campaign that enacted the Pied Piper theory. That's why they elevated Trump in the press, because the Hillary Clinton campaign came up with that idea. And we now know that because of the WikiLeaks emails, which they don't want you to talk about except that it's hacked. So there you go. Do you need any more proof of how backwards, upside down, inside out? This is the death rattle of neoliberals. This is them grasping for straws. Right now, they're trying to. If you criticize Kamala Harris or Cory Booker, they call you a racist, even if you're a progressive. That is a desperate grasp right now. The corporate Democrats are clinging right now by their fingernails. Now, whether they're going to let go and the Democratic Party gets actually taken over by progressives, I think is really super unlikely. I know there's a lot of people who think that could happen. I don't think so, which is why I'm going draft Bernie. I think we need a third party. I think we need to scrap the Democratic Party to the dustbin of history. We'll see. Can progressives take over the Democratic Party? If they could, I'd be thrilled. I don't think they could. I say try. But I'm going to put my efforts into a third party. But do you see? This is just unbelievable. Anything? That's it, right? That's great. We covered it.
You're welcome, Jason. We fixed your title.
That's right.
Consult us next time because you really missed the mark.
Yeah, we'll help you out, Jason. Don't get your news from Newsweek. Hey everybody, we have 2 live Jimmy Dore shows in September. September 25th, we're in San Diego, and September 18th in Burbank, California. Get your tickets right there. There's a link right there.